Good evening, one and all, to the Red Pill News. I'm your host, Max Power. Not really. I am your host, Michael Angeli. Michael Angley. Michael, whatever. Show's over. Bye. So, my friend Art tells me that I should be writing down all the aspects of my life because it's the best soap opera he's ever heard. And while I know he's right, I can't say why. I can only say that. It happens, man. So, as a lot of you know, probably all of you, if you're consistent listeners, my mom passed away 4 weeks ago. And it's been very terrible time, as you can imagine. You try to grieve, and people don't let you grieve. And, you know, my grieving is to come on and do the show and stay focused on things I have to stay focused on. And some days it's just so overwhelming, you just can't do it. You know, so I've been on this roller coaster ride, and luckily, I've got some amazing, fantastic friends and also family members who have reached out and who are there. And I'll tell you, there's a lot of love going around, and it's difficult, man. It's just to navigate daily, and then there's the uphill battle. Like, I went to go clean her house out because she had all these cats, and we had to do something with the cats. We had to get help, from the SPCA, and they came in and did a fantastic job, which is one of the many reasons why I always support them. I've done fundraisers for them. I give them donations, and they're the best at what they do. It's also a no-kill shelter, so at least the cats are going on to forever homes. But a little bit of time, only off 2 days a week. Been trying to get there, and it's actually far from where I am to go clean, the house up and do all this. So I get there today. I walk in. Last time I was there, I had sprinkled baking soda all over the floor. If you had pet odors or any of that stuff, baking soda is good stuff, man. And if you sprinkle it on a wooden floor, it gets in there. Especially if you like kind of push it in with a broom, it gets in there and it helps. And then you can come along with other things later on. And it just does a good job of just trying to neutralize the place. So I go in there and I see raccoon footprints all in the baking soda. And there was dry cat food down because we were trying to catch all the cats. And, my sister caught the cat last week, the last one, and brought it to the SPCA. And I'm thinking like, oh man, freaking raccoons. So all the stuff going on, that's all you need is a raccoon in the house, So I had to track down how the sucker got in, and they're so crafty, It had pried open part of a soffit, which is just the underhang of the roof, and it got up into the attic, and then there was a panel open to the attic space in the back room, came down through there, and then ransacked the cat food in the house, And it's just the last thing I needed to see is is raccoon footprints. And I know like rednecks love raccoon stories in the house. I mean, they raise raccoons. All you gotta do is say raccoon to a redneck, and they're like, "Oh man, I had raccoon babies and fed them on milk." And you know what? I'm from Long Island. We don't know shit about raising raccoons. The only thing we know is that there they are in the garbage, getting the garbage. Yeah, okay. Close the garbage can. The raccoons are getting there. That's as close as I want to be. Think they're cute, whatever. I'll tell you, one day I was driving on some of these back roads, and there was this raccoon during the day. You don't see too many of them out during the day because that's not their time. This thing was running crazy towards the roadway, and then it ran into the road, like bonked its head and flipped over. It was foaming at the mouth and was going all crazy and chattering and screaming. And then it was like took off into someone's backyard, like there was people back there. And you think like, what the hell do you do, man? It's one thing if you've got a little pistolia, and even if you have a pistol, you gotta be good with a gun. It's a lot of people think that you know guns are these miracle things that the bullets find what they're looking for. Oh man, bullet doesn't have a name on it. You know what I mean? You got to aim and shoot. You got some raccoon running out. Yeah, it's a little tiny thing too. So, but the reality is, I was in my Jeep and I wasn't worried. about about myself per se. That family having some family having like a birthday party back there. I'm sure that that was the talk of the birthday party for years to come. But yeah, I don't want them in the house. You know what I mean? And when I saw it, I was like, ugh. Now I'm staying in a hotel, and I get back to my hotel finally, and I go into the lobby to get a new pair of keys, right? Like cards, little cards and stuff. And then I was talking to a girl, telling her my raccoon story, and there was like this redneck dude who like works on the place. He's like a like maintenance guy. He was like walking out the door, and I said there was a raccoon in the house. He actually came back in to listen to my story. I regaled him with my raccoon story. So, yep, that's how crappy my life is. You know what? I mean, you got to take things in stride. It just is what it is. And as things come up, you got to handle these things. It's an unbelievable situation. So it's just, you got to go forward. And no matter what life hands you, what kind of adversity, you have to go forward and be prepared for anything. This way, the things don't hang you up so much, And that's perseverance, man. There's something about being there for others that you care about, and those people being there for you. It creates a nice web of support. You don't feel so alone. A lot of people out there are alone, and they don't have that. I'm lucky to have had the mom that I had for 54 years, of my life, and I know a lot of people that didn't have that at all. So it's it's something that I honor in my heart. But as life goes on, you just have to be the best you can best. The people that love you when they pass, they want to see you be the best that you can be. They don't want to see you fall apart for them every day. And I mean, grieving. I'll tell you, I never lost anyone that I love so much. And it's a defining point in your life. It really is. So if your mom is alive, give her a hug. You know, because she may not be there for you one day to hug. You know what I mean? So same for your father. Same whatever you got. I mean, I didn't have that with my father, but didn't have that with my grandmother either on my mom's side. Whatever. It does. You don't need a overabundance of people, do you? You need the ones that count, right? And that's the ones that God sends you away and also takes away from you. But I'll tell you what I've learned. You've asked me what I've learned, me personally, from all of this. I've learned that I'm never going to use the word hope anymore in any kind of way that I'm trying to think, I hope this happens, I hope this, and hopefully, it's a shit word. It means nothing. It means less than nothing. You know, you need to be, you need to go out there and cause the effect. Every move deserves a counter move, right? For hoping cancer goes away. It's not going to. It's not known that goes away, especially when you're dealing with doctors who are subpar. I mean, my mom's cancer doctor, who had dealt with her for 3.5 years through her cancer, and this guy was such a cold stone anyway, but not even a reach out after her death. And, I figured he would send something from his office where, we're sorry or whatever. You know what? Nothing. And to that doctor, it was just another science experiment that died. And he'll take all the data and crunch it into his books and all the hundreds of thousands of bucks that they tallied up in bills the time that the last 5 weeks of her being in the hospital, because that's what they do. They do every test they can on you. They run everything they can, not to stop the cancer, by the way. It's not going to stop the cancer. It's not going to solve the situation. They already know what's going on. Once cancer is metastasized, it's done. It's done. You're done. And especially if it gets into your spine, you're done. Goes right into your brain, it's over. It's one thing if you have testicle, ball cancer. It's one thing if you've got, things that can be isolated. But once that cancer is in your organs, you may as well just blow yourself up. You may as well go out big. You may as well go to one of those suicide clinics or something, man. Do something that's not going to give these bastard doctors any leeway and selling the same death to other people. And you know what? You don't even know, because she was feeling good. She was feeling fine. 5 weeks before she died, she was working her full time job, doing her thing. And that's all she could think about was getting back to work, right? All she was thinking about. She wanted words of encouragement. My friends on Facebook were saying all kinds of great stuff. I'd go visit her and read those comments to her, and it actually lifted her up. Even Robbie Thomas, the psychic medium, right? The guy who writes books and all that. Robbie Thomas, I reached out to him. I didn't even want to reach out to him because he charges like a few $100 for a reading, and I'm not wealthy. I can't afford to pay that type of thing, and I just, I give him $50 for one, give me an answer. And, not for nothing. You got this gift. If you can help people, you help them, right? But I guess people need to get paid in what they do. But I kind of see psychic mediums in a different realm. But anyway, he said your mom's going to be fine. It's just a little blip. She was going to come out, and he saw the people at work rally around her. You know, she was going to be fine. Yeah, really? She's going to be fine. And then he sent me a message. This guy I talk to all the time. This guy I've known for years, 8, 9 years, 10 years, whatever the hell it is, right? And just interesting, just interesting when you think about people. They couldn't even reach out to me like afterwards and say, "Hey, are you okay? What's going on?" Only my dearest friends did. The people who really mean anything to me. And I feel like you know when you are suffering through some kind of problem, especially something like this, it's nothing. There's no undo button. There's nothing I can do to bring my mom back. You lose somebody that you love. There's nothing you can do to bring them back. You just have to know their spirit's with you all the time. This guy, Robbie Thomas, was out there saying that he consoles people, that people that die, he loves what he does because he brings them closure. Really? I haven't seen any of that shit. Not any of it. Maybe I smell. Maybe I'm different. Maybe he didn't like me or something. He actually had the nerve to say, "Hey, it's about time you have me back on your show, isn't it? Want to come on your show?" Yeah, because I've got a million people listening to Discovery Paranormal, the show that he comes on. Sure, you want to come on, and tell people to buy your books and all that. But, you know, do people really want to invest their time in a psychic medium that doesn't know anything, or who's not good at what they do, or he's just wrong at one time, or at least tell me the goddamn truth. But I mean, that's what he thought the truth was, because the guy would have said it's not good. Tell me it's not good, you know. But it's just interesting. So maybe I got some venom. Maybe it's deserved. It's definitely deserved. I'm tired of being Mr. Nice Guy to people that don't deserve it. You know what I mean? And they can take, you know, I don't know. They can. People are what they are. Don't think for a second that they don't show you their true selves at times, because they do. And then other people make excuses for those people, don't they? You know. And same for the doctor, though. He's not a psychic. He's not a medium. He's a doctor. He sees these things. And mom was feeling fine, so the doctor put her on this new chemo. That the first one knocked her down. She couldn't get out of bed. She had no energy. She wasn't functioning. She would never take off early from work, or never take off. She loved her job. She worked at a school. They knew she was known as the ambassador of that place. She was there for 25 years, for God's sakes. She would bake scones and bring them into people, and all kinds of food, goodies, take care of them. That was her little extended family. You know, that kind of love is powerful. So they gave her that second chemo. She couldn't even go to work. And then 3 weeks later, they gave her another dose instead of stopping. And I said to the doctor, I called him, I'm like, this knocked her down. Oh, it'll be all right. It'll be all right. Yeah, she had multiple strokes. at that time, and she had heart problems with her heart. Turns out the chemo before that they gave her was known for, it's called Doxil. It's known for destroying people's hearts. 46% of all those patients that receive that, they get heart failure, congenital heart failure. So what's your choice? Die from cancer? Die from heart failure? What kind of choice is that? So, and I'm a firm believer that, because they said if she didn't have this new chemo, she would live maybe 1 to 5 years. Well, then give me the 1 to 5, not 5 weeks. 5 weeks. I asked the doctor. I was recording him. I do that with people, man. It's my investigator background. People like that, anyway. And I said, Stocksilt's known for destroying people's hearts. I'm like, how come you didn't know that? Well, I haven't seen that information. You're a fucking cancer doctor. You haven't seen the information on something that destroys 46% of those patients' hearts? And you're the one prescribing it? And you don't know what you're doing? So you know what they do? They don't give a shit. They take your family who have cancer. They're dying of cancer. They charge you hundreds of thousands of bucks in that last 5 to 6 weeks of life. They were giving her constant CAT scans. All this other stuff. I mean, every day, doing these different scans every day. Spinal tap, things like that. Yeah. And that $10,000 a night hospital bed. And they have no problem. They have no problem. They're not trying to save their life. They're trying to upsell. That's as simple and as cold as it gets. And when I would sit there in the cancer suite with my mom and look at those other people getting this poison put in their bodies, you see their faces, you feel their energy. The cancer nurses there, people come and go. Those nurses have the biggest hearts, though. I will tell you, that doctor is a huge walking POS, man. But those nurses, they're amazing, and they do all the work anyway. But what's the choice? What would you rather die from? You want to go to some Nevada whorehouse and die under 12 people? That's your prerogative. You want to jump out of an aircraft with no parachute and hit the ground? It's your prerogative. You know what I mean? You blow yourself up. You blow your brain. I know Hunter Thompson. I met Hunter Thompson twice. Great writer. Amazing person. I remember the day that he blew his brains out because he had, that medical issues that were taking control. And he didn't want to give it up to the medical community to treat him as some kind of science experiment. I get that, man. I get that. There's limits, So are they really prolonging your life? Or are they just giving you these things from these pharmaceutical companies and monitoring you as you go along? So, and you have to watch out, man. You know what? You got to be smart and make informed decisions. And when your doctor says, a cancer doctor, I haven't seen that information. And me, I'm nobody. And I went online and freaking Googled it and found it right away. If I'm some schmuck nobody, and he's the doctor with all the degrees, all the stuff, how come I was able to find something in 15 seconds that he had no idea what he was peddling? You should know what you're selling and know what the properties are, know what it does. So, and he kept her on that Doxil for like a year. She went well beyond the time that you're supposed to be on. It said that there's an expiration. You're not supposed to be on there longer than 9 months. And every 3 weeks they were hitting her with this. So, what have I learned? Well, one thing I already knew: you don't trust doctors as a whole. You walk in informed. Number two, when your family is in there or anybody you care about, you go in there with information, go in there prepared, be prepared to ask the right questions and say what's on your mind, and never be afraid to speak your mind, not to anybody, not to a doctor or a nurse or a hospital administrator. You go right for their jugular vein, as a matter of fact, because that's your family. It's not some scientific experiment. It's not some rat that these doctors are working on. And that's the way they treat people like rats. Oh, she had one doctor that was talking all kinds of trash because they tried doing the spinal tap to her, and because of her, she was so dehydrated, it hurt her really bad, right? Imagine you lay in a hospital bed, you got all this going on, and here they are, and it hurt her. And I said to the doctor, what are you going to find out? She's already in the shape that she's in. What are you going to find out? What, that she has brain cancer, and you're going to miraculously reverse it? When you already told me that her cancer is out of control, you know, that's in her blood, out of control, right? Once that happens, that's it, you know. So this one doctor, he wasn't even a doctor, he was a resident, right? And he had the nerve to go in there and actually didn't. He called my mom, called her at her hospital bed, and she said she didn't want to do the test. She could still speak for herself at that point. The doctor got all mad at her and said he's going to kick her out of the hospital the next morning and cut her off her meds, and that's it. Oh, she told me that. And, I'm a grizzly bear when it comes to that type. You said what to my mom? So the doctor had the balls to call me after. See, and at this point, I didn't even know. He called her, hung up on her, then called me and said, "Oh, your mother needs this. Oh, she needs the spinal tap, and if she does not have the spinal tap, we would know what's going on." And he's the one I said, and he misrepresented himself, saying he's doctor. You're not a doctor, and I'm like, she doesn't want it. She doesn't want it. I said, she already knows what's going on. We already know what's going on. We know what happened, and she has these symptoms. Her heart enzymes were way up. She had symptoms of heart failure, which came from the chemo that they gave her. There was nothing ever wrong with her heart. She had ovarian cancer initially. This doctor was like, "Oh, okay, okay," and then he hung up. Then I called my mom, and she's like, "The doctor yelled at me and hung up on me." Oh, man. Talk about lighting the world on fire. So I called that bastard back, and I'm like, "What did you say to my mother? Did you hang up on my mother?" "Oh, she. I said, "You are lucky that you are not in front of me right now." So then I kept my stuff together, got off the phone with that jerk off, and I contacted the hospital administrator, and I went to it with them, people who I already knew. It's not like I don't know anybody around here. People I already knew that I've already dealt with on another issue previous, but they couldn't believe what the guy said. "Oh, he'll be disciplined." Like, yeah, right, whatever. I'm sure. Put it in his file. He's a douchebag. But it makes you want to go to a whole nother level, man. When you see people mistreated like that, especially when they're your family and you love them so much, And you know what? The world rolls on. The government rolls on. The insurance companies roll on, and it's a system. It's not a system that's designed to make you feel better. Oh, if they can save you, they will, maybe. Or they're going to give you stuff that'll kill you. Maybe. It's a mixed bag. You know what I mean? So I don't have a lot of trust for people in general, because of the way I grew up, and I play my cards very close to my chest. And I've been accused in relationships. I don't share a lot of information. That's the way I grew up. That's the way I learned. You don't tell people things you don't have to tell them. There's no point. Chit chat, that's always fun. But chit chat's about anything. But I look at the world. I look at COVID. Look at what COVID's doing in India. I had this telemarketer call me, and he obviously was from India, Indian accent. I heard the people in the background in his little, area. No, not this time, actually. That was another guy I harassed. This one called the other day, and let me get my spam calls right. So I told him I wasn't going to buy anything from him, and I said, "Are you in India?" Oh, I said, "Where are you calling from?" They don't tell you where they're calling from. They don't want to. They want you to think they're calling from United States and all that other stuff. But then he finally said he was offshore, right, to the U.S. India is offshore. Yeah, way offshore. So Finally, I said, "All right, dude, listen, are you in India?" And he's like, "Oh, yes, I am." And I started talking to him about COVID and what's going on there. He said they're all locked in their homes, they can't get out. I said, "Well, at least you can sit there and call people and harass them at home for stuff that they're never going to buy from you." And then he's like, "Oh, yes, ho 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 ho." But they can't even get food. They're locked in their homes and not allowed to leave. They'll get arrested, man. They'll get hauled away to COVID jail. What's going on in India. They're burning those bodies, and then a lot of people, me included, and I'm the one who brought it up over a year ago in January. You know that this COVID can ride smoke, and then this January the CDC confirmed it. It just made sense. It made sense. I went by size. I wanted to see when COVID first came out and they were burning all those bodies in Wuhan. I researched how big smoke is versus how big the virus is, size wise. And the virus is just the right size to ride on those bits of smoke. And then that's the perfect thing to get into your lungs. But now the CDC has said, see, it's contradictory. First, they say people can go out and not wear masks outside who are vaccinated. People who are vaccinated. About a third of the country is vaccinated, right? They're saying half of people have gotten at least one shot. Not the ones I talked to in my life, but maybe a third. That's what I'm thinking. And there's a lot of people who will never get the vaccine. They've heard all kinds of information. They don't like it. They don't believe it. They don't trust the government or doctors. And there's a lot of things mainly deal with trust. And also, it's an emergency use drug. The government can't make it mandatory because of that, because it's a drug that, it's a vaccine that you don't know what the long-term effects will ever be. So they can't make it emergency use, but they're allowing private corporations to order it to their employees and also schools to their students to get vaccinated. And they have no choice. Otherwise, they don't go there, right? That type of thing. So this is all going on at the same time of everything, and COVID with let's just say with India, over 4,000 people dying every day. They're burning those bodies. Uh, Anybody can inhale that smoke. It's unknowing how far that can go. The CDC also came out and said that the virus is now aerosolized with this mutation, which means it's one thing if you had original COVID and then someone's talking to you, they sneeze, or they sing around you, anything that pushes stuff out of their body from their lungs, right? And you could inhale it like catching the flu. This mutation now, they said, is aerosolized. So if it's aerosolized, that means it can literally hang around the air for hours and be alive and well for anybody to inhale. That a COVID positive person with the mutation can be in a room for a few minutes, talk, sneeze, whatever, leave the room, and then that virus is going to be there for hours, maybe longer, maybe a day, maybe days. It also depends on UV light situations. And like my good friend Simon, who was in England, brought up that, how they know about burning these bodies with the smoke, and people can get it from smoke, but with air currents, especially the air stream up in the atmosphere, which is super fast, can get from one location to the other in seconds, I mean, really super fast. How do you know, especially at night, you think that, okay, if there's a virus up there and you have sunlight, or even, even with clouds, you still have that UV light coming through. But at night, you don't. How do you know? How do you know? There's a lot of unanswered questions on how people caught COVID when they were quarantining, staying inside, not being in contact with anyone. Those questions aren't getting answered. And now this phenomenon's happening. It started originally when COVID first started with children. It wasn't really affecting children as much. It was more rare. Now you're seeing this rare disorder become huge. That there's thousands and thousands of cases now of this inflammatory disease. So It's actually making kids' brains swell, other parts of their organs. And then these scientists want to study the info. They're not getting it to study. The government's not giving it to them. They want to push the narrative on go out and get the vaccine. Well, yeah, sure, but there's no vaccine for children. They just approved one on Monday for 12 to 15-year-olds. You know, but this is the deal, and this is gospel coming from the mighty Angley. Do what you want to do. You know, I tell people to get the vaccine because that's me. You know, I think that if you're scared and you want it, you should have it. If you're afraid of what it's going to do, well, there's no answers. I can tell you what side effects are. I can tell you what vaccines are better than others when it comes to that, and you know, but I can't tell you what's going to happen 5 years from now. I can't tell you what's going to happen 10 years from now. It's unknown. There's no trials. You need years worth of trials to find out what things do. So basically, this boosts your immune system, and now they're even talking about a booster shot, and the vaccine is not 100%. You know, now with the mutations, the CDC and others are putting it at maybe 63% effectiveness, which is still 63% more effective than nothing. But in the same sense, you have to understand how viruses work. They want to live. They want to. They want to do what they do. They replicate. Imagine a virus is like artificial intelligence. There are people that will argue with you saying viruses are not alive. They certainly are. And the mutations, it tells you something about it. Here's a virus that went from square one with a pretty big case fatality rate, overseas, and then it filtered out through people. As it does that, it's still alive and well. As it encounters our white blood cells, it can go one or two ways. It could dissipate like most other viruses do and become less severe, like the swine flu or anything else, or it could get stronger. If it was designed to get stronger, manufactured in a facility, it certainly will get stronger because that's what it was designed to do. So now you have this English variant, and it got together with the South African variant. The South African variant more deadly, the English variant more infectious. 70% more infectious, aerosolized, right? That's a huge number, probably more than that, I would say, if it could hang around the air for 3 hours. So, okay. We know this. We know that these two mutations got together. They're calling it a double mutation, and this is what's taken India by storm. 6 weeks ago, the leader of India declared COVID victory and said it was done. They have gotten to herd immunity. They have vaccinated enough people. No worries. This mutation is going around the vaccine. It's going around all kinds. Let me tell you what it does. This double mutation collects antibodies and coats itself with antibodies and acts as a Trojan horse. It floats right past your immune system, right past your nose, those nice white blood cells that are pumped up full of even vaccine. Right, walks right past it like it's not even there. And it gets to your healthy cells and then hits those healthy cells and it replicates, is what it does. And then people are choking to death there because they have no oxygen. This is affecting men, women, and children in India. It's not excluding any groups, anybody. They have one doctor for 26,000 people in India. One doctor for 26,000 people. None of those doctors just died. One from New Jersey who went there to help. All of them fully vaccinated. They've got thousands of people who are fully vaccinated, who will catch COVID, who are sick. So my question is, and this is a very important question, and it's not one that determines whether I want to get this vaccine or not. It's one that, it's an honest question. Let's say you vaccinate 100,000 people, right? those people may or may not ever be exposed to COVID. Some people are exposed to COVID, nothing happens to them at all. They get mild symptoms, it's there, it's gone, they're done. And then they can go out and live their lives because they supposedly don't get reinfected. With the double mutation, we've seen previous positives affected, right? Look at Brazil. Brazil had a whole town last year that was decimated with this virus, killed thousands, tens of thousands of people, mass graves, the whole bit. The same different virus, this mutation, not even the mutation, well, the African variant hit Brazil and hit the same town. They thought, okay, virtually everyone in the town got COVID. Then they should have some kind of herd immunity, or they should have some kind of previous positive immunity. The whole town decimated again, mass graves again. So obviously, these new mutations have very little to do with the original one, like anything, like any strain. And strains and mutations are different things. People confuse them. The mutations are obscure. They're mutations. They're not normal. Now in the course of a virus, any kind of coronavirus, you'll see doctors, and this is doctors talking as a whole, that I'm quoting. They say that you'll see one or two mutations in the whole course of the virus as it runs through wherever it's running through. It's whatever society's being affected, 1 to 2 mutations. They have a guy in Boston in hospital who's been there for 10 months, who's immune compromised. He's got COVID. It's never left his system. And it's mutated over 22 times in his body in that time, 22 mutations. So it makes sense that, well, it doesn't, I mean, like, that's why I don't get the whole, the lifting all these rules where other countries are tightening up. India did the same thing. They declared COVID victory. They lifted the rules. People went out again, and this mutation took over. And now over 4,000 people are dying, with 400,000 around new cases every day. Imagine those numbers. And I know, people will say, well, they got 1.3 billion people. So what? Dead is dead. Doesn't matter what your population is. But not for nothing, this is a situation where, okay, it's a very dense population in India, very dirty population. People bathe in the Ganges River. There are dead bodies and dead animals floating by and sewage. You would think that their immune system would be the strongest. One group of Indians is using cow poop, slicking themselves down. Indian doctors telling them not to. They're like, that's not going to help. Moo. Cover yourself in cow poop and drink some chocolate milk, and you're there, huh? You're going to beat COVID. And when it comes to governments and their time frames and when COVID's going to end, let me tell you about viruses. They decide basically when they end, when people decide to truly put a stop to it. But then you have people who don't want to go out. You have people who do want to go out. You have people who want to go out and go crazy. Now, if you're trying to stop a pandemic or epidemic, whatever you got, you can't have that. People need to be isolated until the bug dies. That's it. Isolation, quarantine, So unfortunately, you don't have that in this world. You have people who are very headstrong. This thing was politicized in the beginning. Then there's a bunch of idiots who are following those people. Remember Trump? Trump said he didn't even believe in it. It's something the Democrats made up, or fake news. COVID was fake news. He said that in February, when it was already here, by the way, in nursing homes in Washington State. Oh, now same area, Washington State. You have a nursing home with a bunch of illnesses. Over 70 people are sick, right? So this mutation went from India and it jumped to 50 countries in no time at all with travel restrictions. Think about that. But when you have political leadership like the leader of India who declared COVID over, and while he was saying it, this new mutation was ravaging his country. While he was saying it, you have the Trumps, you have the Chuck Schumers, him too. I mean, all these people, they all had some spiel about COVID, right? But it was the real idiots were the ones who I don't believe in it. It's like the flu. That's what gets that. It frustrates me to hear that. When I hear intelligent people say something like that, I automatically know something that about them, you know. So, and I guess you just have to be. You got to be, show you, got to show you what the deal is. And well, it's all right. Right now, COVID numbers, they said we're going down 3 days ago. We're on a decline in the US, also England, right? Guess what? In the last 3 days, it's going up. It's going up. It's going up. And it's this new mutation. It's here in the States. It's in England. I think 5 days ago there was 400 something cases in England. Now it's like 8,000. You can see this virus is not going to stop. It's going to keep going as long as it can. As long as it can, until someone truly stops it. But you don't stop it by declaring it over, right? Remember Bush, what about the Iraqi war? He declared victory. Really? When? When was there victory? There still isn't victory. It's a mess. Look what's going on with Israel. People shooting rocks and rockets at them, and you have Iran who is fueling all of this. And to me, all those guys are the same. They eat the same food. They smell the same. They look they look like Arabs in the desert, man. I mean, whether they're Jewish or Muslim, it's the whole thing is ridiculous. You're just people. You're going to allow your religion to get in the way of loving other people in your life. That's terrible, terrible. you know. And you know what? Back in the day, it was the Jewish people that showed the Arabs in that region of Gaza and all that how to grow things in the soil because the soil is so horrible and the conditions are so terrible there. They taught them that. Oh, but then you had a Palestinian leader who went over to Russia when a communist and he met with all those guys there and he came back with the whole communist agenda. And that's when the PLO was organized and they started killing people, innocent people. What did they get from that? Let's look back. What have you learned, Dorothy? What did you get from all the bombings at hotels and cafes and bus bombings, killing children, people going to work, whatever, innocent people? What'd you get? What'd you change? What did you change in all these years? Here we are, 2021. You know what they did? They created more animosity. And I'll tell you one thing. When the Israelis arrested that fat bastard Arafat and put him in jail, and they had the nerve to say that they poisoned him with this nuclear compound to to give him cancer, so he died. You know what? That guy was a total and complete scumbag who strapped bombs to children and ran them into buildings to kill other people. And he was a coward, and he died like a coward. You know that was Arafat. But when they took him out and they took two of those other bastards out in the PLO, all those bombings stopped. They got the right three people. And I know Israelis, if they want to kill you, they kill you. They don't sit there and feed you on thermium, some nuclear compound for some a little bit at a time. Put a little bit in his hummus every day, a little bit of thermium. No, they were walking there and blam, like the mafia, just splatter his brains right over the place. So yeah, that's the world we're in. And we have learned nothing as a people because people are still violent and angry with each other. And even in our local politics, how people are scrapping and beating each other up. My former barber, told me that there was a fist fight between two old men over Hillary and Trump. This is what you waste your life on. You got nothing else better to do. You're going to be some old man getting punched in the eye by somebody else for some stupid politics. Those people don't give a shit about you ever, never. Politicians don't fucking care. They will not. They won't. They are what they are. Thieves, right? I see them like that. You think that some people go into office with some lofty, ambitious goal of representing people and doing better for society. Have you seen that? Because I have friends, including me, who are drowning in debt because of COVID for a year. And I have other friends who are behind in their rent for months and months and months. Oh, there's no stimulus money that's going to help them. No, they're not going to hand anything over. They hand over a ton to corporations, sports teams, other people like that. They got money, lots of money. But what about people, taking care of people? They won't. You know why? Because they want to keep you down. They want to keep you at bay. So when they give you that rare bone, you're thankful for it instead of seeing it for what it really is. So whatever you do it well. Whatever you do, strive to be the best. Whatever you do, have that swagger to your walk. Let people know what you're made of. Show them that confidence, not this shitty paranoia, confidence, and go ever forward. That's all you can do. Otherwise you're going to crawl up in a corner and let the world beat you down. And they certainly will. I love Dave Chappelle. Love him dearly, I think he's a very funny guy. I think he lost a bit of his thunder because of this the business, because of the business, right? And I watched this special. I talked about it recently. He's on there on Netflix, and it's like comedy and Alcohol Anonymous like linked together, comes together. And he's talking about the business and how they do you wrong and whatever. But you need to understand that people will if they can sometimes, and when you enter a business relationship of any type, everything has to be known. And don't tell me that you were young and naive. Sure, people are, man. So then you hire people who aren't, people who are going to go in there, who are going to get the money for you, and get everything for you. That's supposed to be management. It's supposed to be lawyers and whatever. But you sign up with these companies, it's their lawyers mainly, their management. They're the ones in control. I know that Netflix is good though, and they treat people really well. So he said that. I know other people that have Netflix gigs and they're being treated really well. And I just myself auditioned for some stuff for a ghost show. I'm not saying it's for them, but I'm just saying that I did it, and it's a process, man. You know, you just what it is. You throw something at the wall and see if it sticks, and that's what anything. If you're going to go out there and show business of any type, you have to audition. You got to make a name for yourself, and you just keep going, keep going. My friend Art, good dear friend, was in Sex in the City and in Law and Order. I mean, that's amazing. This guy's amazing, and he took a break for a while, and now he's getting back into it and going back. Everyone took a break for a while because of COVID. He's getting back into it, but I think that you just have to go for it, man. And listen to your fans. Don't listen to your critics. The critics aren't going to tell you anything good. They're going to tell you their opinion of what they think that you should do, which means nothing. I've insulted many people in my relationships when I've said, I don't care what you think. It's not that I don't care what people think. It's just I have my own opinions and ideas and thoughts. Sure, if you want to debate me on something, I'm happy to, but really, my life is mine. I'm living in my skin, and the people that I affect, that's what's important, are the ones who affect me. If there's toxic people affecting you negatively, that's just something that you need to sever and get away from. So my advice to you tonight at the end of the show is to be kind. That's all. Be kind. Kindness goes a long way in this world. Uh, it really is. And I've been told that recently by somebody pretty important to me, that's for sure. And it's funny because that's kind of my thing that I say to people is be kind. And even when I'm faced with adversity, it's kind of like, what are you going to do? When the city of Ithaca came after me for my cable show because they said the DA hated me, thought I was obnoxious, obscene, lewd, crude, obnoxious, and obscene, coming from Mr. Christian conservative Republican, you know, and I whipped his ass in court, whipped his ass, whipped, and was on the air. Their intention was get me suspended for 2 years, not go back on the air. They thought I was going to run away with my thing between my legs. Guess what, man? I was back on within 2 weeks, and I was telling them what the deal is. And my ex-girlfriend had this Cabbage Patch doll when she was a kid that looked just like this dude, George Dente's. I dressed that thing up, looked just like him, put those crazy round child molester glasses he used to wear, all that, his little suit. It was cool, man. Put that thing on the air. Those days. And because he wouldn't come on my show and answer any of my questions on how he could have me arrested when clearly what I was doing was all about free speech. So instead of him coming on, I had a reasonable facsimile, man. So I'd put this Cabbage Patch doll on and I would yell at it half the night. The good old days. But he ended up passing away and lost the election by a landslide because people in the county knew what he was all about, that he wastes a lot of money and going after frivolous lawsuits from his own personal opinions, and he was gone. So I'll leave that with you. Fight for what you believe in and never stop. If there's one fool left in the battle is not lost. I will see you guys next week on this show. United Public Radio Network, UPRN Talkradio.com. Take the red pill. I'll see you guys next week. Bye.